So let's start. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Hello everyone. I'm a first year liberal arts student at Saitama University, Asumi Takanashi.
And I'm a second year liberal arts student at Saitama University, Wakano Tarutami.
Today we will tell you about the Japanese literature related to atomic bombs. During the World War II, US forces dropped atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and many people were sacrificed by them. Today, I will talk about Hiroshima. On August 6 in 1945, US forces dropped atomic bombs in Hiroshima. Because of the heat rays, blast waves, and also the radioactivity and after effect, atomic bomb sickness continuing after that. By the end of 1945, it is estimated that 140,000 people were sacrificed. However, the damage is too great to know the exact number of victims until now. Many children's and young books telling about the fear of atomic bombs have been published. Today, I'll introduce two children's books. 僕は満員電車で原爆を浴びた. In English, I was exposed to the atomic bomb on a crowded train. And Ishibumi, in English, Monument. These books were written about Hiroshima. In I was exposed to the atomic bomb on a crowded train. This book is written from the perspective of 11-year-old boy who bombed in Hiroshima. When the atomic bombs was dropped in Hiroshima, he has near the hypothetical but many reasons like he was a child, so he was not exposed to radiation, and he survived miraculously. In this book, the boy tells about the vivid damage of atomic bomb and the fear of it he saw. The boy got out of the crowded train and headed to his grandmother's house with his mother, right after the atomic bombing. During the journey, he saw terrible horrors. All parts of the story are very shocking, but I'd like to quote some of the most shocking parts. A person whose broken bone and has broken through skin and muscle and is sticking out. A person with blood sticking to them. A person whose flesh is cracking and popping out like aspirations. The person did not have eyes. The part in which eyes should be placed became dark holes. The eyeballs popped out and hung at his cheeks. After that, his mother and sister, who seemed to be safe, died from the effect of radiation. The main character, a boy, has lived more than 70 years, but still he is suffering from bomb disease. Monument is also one of the representative young book which tells us the tragedy of the soon after the atomic bombing. This book consists of records of the deaths of all the first-year boys at a certain middle school. The records are made from their parents' testimony and letters, and each student's situation is written concentratedly. By describing in detail the actions of each student after the bombing, how they died, and the time of their death, with full names and photos of the students' faces, The book gives the reader a sense that each person who died in the atomic bombing was alive, and a sense of loss that everyone's life ended in an instant. The students who were able to see their families after the bombing were also badly burned that their faces were no longer recognizable, and even the longest-lived student died within a week of the bombing, wiping out the entire student body of that junior high school. In this way, many books have been published that tell the tragedy of the atomic bomb. These books have something in common. One is that it is non-fiction, and the other is that it is drawn from the perspective of the Japanese who were exposed at that time. It can convey the horrific event that actually happened, but the perspective of capturing the atomic bomb is very one-sided, and it is not possible to know how the bomb was manufactured or how the decision was made to drop the bomb. Also, as in the book, introduced peace education at Japanese school, there is a tendency to emphasize the fact that the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan and many people were killed. Complaining about the damages caused by the atomic bomb. There are few opportunities to think about the background of why the atomic bomb was dropped. Because of this kind of education and books, Japanese children often have negative thoughts about the dropping of the atomic bomb from an early age. However, decades after the war, the ability to see the world and the world from a broader perspective may change the way we see and think about the atomic bombs. Many people in the United States think that dropping an atomic bomb is a good decision. And recently, the idea of dropping an atomic bomb has diverse fields and exchanges between the United States and Japan have become more active. Was the dropping of the atomic bomb really a bad thing?
So I'm going to introduce two books which have different tastes with books introduced by Ms. Takahashi. First book is Pumpkin. This book is about the 49 pumpkin bombs that were dropped on various parts of Japan during the final year of the war in 1945 from the perspective of Hiroka. Now, I'll explain a little about pumpkin bombs. Pumpkin bombs are known as dummy bombs of the atomic bomb, which is dropped in Nagasaki on August 9th in 1945, because the two bombs' shapes are very similar. So I go back to the book Pumpkin, and Hiroka is in 5th grade in elementary school. She decided to search about pumpkin bombs and put them together in one newspaper as independent research during the summer vacation. Through research about the reasons why pumpkin bombs were dropped or historical background, Hiroka noticed that there are a lot of facts that she did not know, and the more she looked into it, the more she couldn't figure out who in the world was at fault for dropping bombs and World War II. In this book, we can see her struggle with the war. For example, when she learned that the US dropped pumpkin bombs to practice dropping an atomic bomb, and many people died because of the pumpkin bombs, she wondered if the US was to blame. However, Once she researched why the US dropped atomic bombs on Japan, she found out that Japan did very awful things to the Asian countries, so the US dropped atomic bombs. Like this book makes readers think about what is atomic bombs, what is war, who was at fault, through the perspective of Hiroka. Next, I'm going to introduce On a Bright Summer Morning, another young book which also readers make think about dropping bombs in Japan during World War II. In this book, 8 American high school students are divided into 2 groups, one pro-atomic bomb and the other anti-atomic bomb, and debate about the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki 4 times. The 8 debaters are from a variety of backgrounds, Chinese, Jewish, African, and the main character, May, who is half Japanese and half Irish American. Through reading this book, readers can learn about the atomic bombing not only from the standpoints of the Japanese people, but also from the standpoints of the US and minorities, and the contents will make us think about the atomic bombing once again. This book, like Pumpkin, does not force readers to have a positive or negative opinion about atomic bombings, but rather makes them think about it. What these 2 books have in common is that they make us think about the atomic bombings through learning about the backgrounds of the bombings from the perspective of today's youth, and the authors do not force their perspective about atomic bombings. The books which Ms. Takahashi introduced are written by the atomic bomb victims, so it is inevitable that readers have the idea that Japan is a victim of atomic bombing. However, on the other hand, these 2 books make you think about the atomic bombings from the standpoints of 2 countries, Japan, where the atomic bombs were dropped, and the United States, which dropped them, and other countries. I think these books are trying to convey that it is important not only to know the fact that the atomic bombs were dropped, but also to know why the bombs were dropped, the historical backgrounds, and the thoughts of the other countries. When I think about why these books came out, I think one of the reasons is that the attitude of understanding each other's position as globalization progresses. Today, in one country, there are so many people who have different historical backgrounds, so they understand one historical event, such as the atomic bombing in Japan, differently. However, to live together in one country peacefully, it is necessary to understand the people who have a different opinion from us. And it is important to make efforts to understand the background, why people have things like that. So I think these books came out. So what do you think about the atomic bombing in Japan, 1945? I believe that everyone thinks atomic bombs are not acceptable, so I want to know that how do you think about dropping atomic bombs? These are references, and thank you for listening.